the supposedly unbiased press. Now, the findings are downright disturbing and should concern all of you, every American. Here they are. CNBC's John Harwood, he offered advice to the campaign. Keep in mind, he moderated a primary debate and bragged how he got under Trump's skin. A New York Times reporter allowed the campaign to actually edit out certain quotes from Hillary Clinton before an article was published. The Boston Globe, they launched a coordinated effort to try and make Clinton look good during the Democratic primaries. And the head of Univision pressured the campaign to attack Trump harder over immigration. Now, the Clinton campaign boasted, quote, that every single interviewer was for her, meaning Hillary, after a trip to Michigan. And Donna Brazile, while working for CNN, the Clinton News Network, allegedly shared a question with the Clinton campaign before a town hall on the network. Brazile denies this. And if that's not enough, it gets worse. WikiLeaks also uncovered evidence that Clinton's campaign was tipped off by the Department of Justice about the release of information about Hillary's private email server. And the State Department also alerted Team Clinton about when emails connected to the Democratic nominee would be made public. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Here with reaction, editor-in-chief of LifeSet, Fox News contributor, nationally syndicated radio host Laura Ingraham, and I can't believe I see him here, and Fox News contributor Tucker Carlson. Good to see you both. Laura, let's start with you. It's NBC, it's CNBC, it's Univision, CNN, they're giving questions before a town hall. It's literally, let's see, the New York Times, the Boston Globe, the Washington Post, all an extension in every way imaginable of the Clinton press office. Now,
all these media outlets, Sean, that you just rattled off, they're all part of what is essentially a super duper PAC for Hillary. Okay, this is beyond a super PAC. This is more influential than any super PAC because it controls what people see and what people hear and what people read. And the way campaigns are framed is still very important, even with the internet and even with talk radio and Fox. The way the mainstream media frames stories and rallies and news cycles still has an enormous, I think, influence on the way especially younger people feel, people who aren't all that steeped in politics, who just maybe take a quick read at things. And it's everything that we always thought and confirmed in these WikiLeaks emails. And it's going to simply lead to more cynicism about the press, more distrust toward the mainstream media. And I think they're hoping they get some more tapes on Trump so they can take the spotlight off themselves. But as usual, the finger's always pointed back at you.
You know, I think, Tucker, the other thing is she admits she's one person in public and she's a totally different person behind the scenes. And she's exposed. For example, she supports open trade. She wants not only open borders, she wants an open hemisphere. Right. 600 million people can come in here. She's got friends pretty much everywhere covering up for her. She gets paid. She got a public position and a private position. She supports fracking. She doesn't support fracking. She supports Keystone. She doesn't support Keystone. The whole thing is like reminiscent of the former Soviet Union and the propaganda, you know, towards the public and the contempt towards the public. And I don't know if the public can absorb this all in 27 days.
Well, the most effective propaganda, of course, is not simply to distort the truth, but not to report it at all. I mean, if an important story happens and the press ignores it, did it actually happen? I mean, so for example, we've just seen 5 separate WikiLeaks document dumps in the last 48 hours. John Podesta's emails, some of them are not interesting, some of them are very interesting and deeply revealing. You go on the Washington Post website, one of the biggest and most important newspapers in the world, as of this afternoon, and there are no stories about it. There are no stories about it on the front page of their website. The only story that even refers to it is an utterly unsubstantiated claim from the Clinton campaign that this is part of a Russian propaganda effort. They don't know that that's true. They're just throwing it out there. And that's the only thing the Post covered. Over at Vox, which is a major, very highly valued liberal news site, there are no stories at all other than John Podesta's risotto recipe, which showed up in these emails. But all the rest of this stuff completely ignored. The press, by doing that or not doing it, devalues its own currency. This is going to be over in a month. And where are they going to be then? With no credibility whatsoever. Actually, this hurts them. This is short-sighted and dumb. And I think it's the beginning of the end of the old media order.
I think it is, but unfortunately, you're right. I think a lot of people still trust those outlets when they shouldn't be trusted. They're an extension of the campaign. You know, there's even revelations. Poor Chelsea Clinton had enough sense to realize the significance and seriousness of the pay-to-play issue with the Clinton Foundation and access to her mother when she was Secretary of State. She was called a spoiled brat for revealing it. But then we find out, as it relates to the money they were raising with the Clinton Foundation for Haiti, Laura, that they're literally separating out the Clinton donors and friends of Bill to give them access for opportunities to make money.
But again, this is what all of us thought all along. When the Clinton Foundation ran down to do all that work in Haiti, and much of it has been called into question, and we wondered at the time, well, is this State Department contracts? I mean, how is this all working? And it turns out that at least on a few occasions, and I imagine this is just the tip of the iceberg, that Clinton friends got preferential treatment. And Sean, the other issue that I thought, as a Roman Catholic, I found to be so disturbing is the Jennifer Palmieri comments and the Podesta comments about Catholics, especially more traditional Catholics, Catholic converts like myself. They didn't mention people by name. But the most, I think, derisive and dismissive
it's
and
even worse
nasty
than
comments.
You got John
Then they want
Podesta.
to infiltrate the Catholic Church as well, according
He's talking
to
about
what John
infiltrating
Podesta
the Catholic Church with left-wing progressive ideology. Get this, to foment revolution within the Catholic Church. Who thinks like this unless you're a statist Marxist, a really radical Alinskyite disciple? Let me give you a few more quickies here. We learned that Hillary hates everyday Americans. Between Podesta and Palmieri, we know, Tucker, that they said, I know she's begun to hate everyday Americans, but I think we should use it once. Seriously? And then we've got what we talked about, infiltrating the Catholic Church. And also they knew that Saudi Arabia and Qatar are funding ISIS, but she still took their money. I mean, it's breathtaking what we're learning here. Why are you laughing? It's not funny.
Well, because it's every suspicion you ever had about the Clintons.
It's true.
If you and I are sitting around having a beer, I wonder what they're talking about over there at the Center for the American Progress or the Clinton Global Initiative. They're fighting about money, right? Because they're all getting rich on this stuff, and they're all needling each other behind the scenes and saying nasty things about each other over the spoils. They're attacking normal people, religious people, people of faith, right? And they're also basically lying about their motivations about everything. And now we rip off the covers, and it turns out to all be true. So we were pretty prescient, I guess.
It's beyond scary.
And Sean, it's about, as it always is about with the Clintons, it's about power and it's about money. They got a lot of money. They have almost $170 million. But they always want to hold on to the power, and they dole out the goodies to their friends and others who've been good to them over the years. And that is the corruption of Washington that Trump is really running against now, and I think it's really smart. People are fed up with it.
Think about this, Laura. You have the Republican establishment against them, the Democratic establishment, the media establishment against them, even the UN establishment, globalist establishment is against them. I mean, can anybody overcome that united group of power if they're all opposing you? It's not easy.
No, that's why most people become members of the establishment. It's a lot easier. It's a lot more convenient, and you go to, I guess, a lot better parties. I don't like those parties anyway, so it never bothered me. But yeah, it's really hard. He's going to have a hard slog. But if anyone can do it, I think he can, because he's swinging for the fences now. And I think he's got to do some events that now bring all of this together, and whether it's religious liberty speech or really highlighting the corruption beyond just the rallies. I think it's time for him to go back to some of those communities, underserved communities that he did
I think that's a good idea.
in August. Yep.
Tucker, thanks for staying up late. I saw you on Fox and Friends this morning. Nice of you to come back. You've been missing from action. You've been MIA. I don't know what this is all about.
I've been trying to elbow my way in. Thanks for letting me come.
All right, guys. Good to see you both. Coming up,
Good to see you.
The WikiLeaks email dump exposes how Hillary Clinton thinks that she can act one way in public and a very different way in private. We'll explain. Plus tonight.
Crooked Hillary wants to end forever the American independence that our founders gave us. Our great founders are spinning in their graves.
With only 27 days to go, Trump is holding nothing back. His son, Eric Trump, will join us in studio. And a quick programming note, be sure to tune in tomorrow night at 10 p.m. 3 of Bill Clinton's accusers will join us on set. Juanita Broderick, Kathleen Willey, and Paula Jones will be here. Also tomorrow night, you'll meet a woman named Kathy Shelton. She was allegedly raped at the age of 12. Hillary Clinton defended the man accused of sexually assaulting Kathy. You wait till you hear her on tape, laughing and basically admitting she thinks he's guilty. An episode of Hannity you don't want to miss. Set your DVRs. Tomorrow night, 10 Eastern. We'll continue. More Hannity right after.
News headquarters, I'm Jackie Ibanez. According to the New York Times, 2 women have come forward claiming they were inappropriately touched by Donald Trump. The New York Times says Trump denied their claims in a telephone interview earlier tonight. Trump's campaign also releasing a statement saying, quote, "It is absurd to think that one of the most recognizable business leaders on the planet with a strong record of empowering women in his companies would do the things alleged in this story." And for this to only become public decades later in the final month of a campaign for president should say it all. The accusations come less than a week after a 2005 leaked tape showed Trump boasting about kissing women without permission and grabbing their private parts. Trump has defended it as, quote, locker room talk, saying he's actually never done those things. I'm Jackie Ibanez. Now back to Hannity for all of your headlines. Log on to foxnews.com. Have a great night.
And welcome back to Hannity. Now, WikiLeaks continues to expose what Hillary Clinton tells you, the American people, in public. Well, that's completely different from what she says in private. But don't take my word for it. Hillary bragged about this in a 2013 Wall Street speech where she paid a lot of money. Now, the Clintons have also made it clear that they don't care much for the average, everyday Americans, the people that make this country great. We'll have more on that in just a second. But first, released emails also reveal major contradictions from Hillary on key policies and topics. Now, Clinton says she wants a 550% increase of Syrian migrants coming into America. But according to the emails in a 2013 speech, Clinton actually admitted what Donald Trump's been saying, that refugees cannot be properly vetted and could put countries they enter at risk. Is she willing to gamble with your life? Is that what she's saying? Now, Clinton also says she wants a no-fly zone in Syria, yet the email shows she was skeptical about the idea during a speech for Goldman Sachs. Remember, another $225,000 payday. And she was also unsure about supporting or opposing the Keystone Pipeline and also praised fracking, despite now being a so-called champion of climate change. Now, Clinton is also a fierce critic of Wall Street and big banks in public, but she praised their actions after the 2007 financial collapse. Now, she also favored a plan that would cut Social Security, and she says just the opposite to you, the American people. And unlike what she says now in paid speeches, Clinton supported open borders and open trade. She also said she'd like to see the U.S. move towards a socialized health care system, just like what they have in Canada, single payer. But there's also issues about how the Clintons really feel about you, the American people. Now, WikiLeaks uncovered that Clinton hated using the phrase everyday Americans during speeches, and that she was, quote, far removed from the struggles of the middle class. Now, her campaign spokeswoman viciously attacked and mocked Catholics and evangelicals. And a Clinton activist asked John Podesta, quote, well, what is wrong with the people of New Hampshire? This was just before Clinton lost the primary to Bernie Sanders. Clinton also referred to Trump supporters as a basket of deplorables that were irredeemable. Well, now Bill Clinton is taking these attacks on Trump backers even further. And here's what he said yesterday.
The other guy's base is what I grew up in. You know, I'm basically your standard redneck.
Here with reaction, CEO of CrowdPack and former advisor to British Prime Minister David Cameron, Steve Hilton is with us, and from the American Conservative Union, Chairman Matt Schlapp. I want to ask you in the context, I look at the polls, we still don't have polling post-second debate, still don't have polling post this WikiLeaks, which is now even being revealed every day. So I don't know what the real poll numbers are. Nobody really knows. But you lived through this with Brexit. You saw the ups and downs in the polls there. There were people that were convinced no way that would happen, but it happened. Do you see similarities in this election?
There are so many similarities. I mean, one of them is what we've been seeing here, which is the complete unity of the establishment, the media establishment, the political establishment, you name it. In the UK during Brexit, they all said that if you support Leave, you're some kind of xenophobic and you're a racist and you've got to be on the side of the EU. And yet, the people rejected that. And they said, no, we're sick and tired of being told what to think by the establishment.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of the time, because of that shaming that was going on, people actually wouldn't even admit that they
What was the disparity in the polls?
Well, just before the vote, I think even on the day, they were predicting, I think David Cameron himself was given a prediction on the day of the vote that he would win by about 5 points. And it turned out to be the other way. Exactly. Yeah. So it was really far off. Now, I think the other thing that we're seeing with this is just the total cynicism of what's going on in Washington and with the Clinton campaign. And I think that also is something that will really get people fired up and angry. And as long as the focus can be on that, I think that there's still everything to play for in the election.
Matt, there are those similarities. You got, look, the Republican Party establishment, they're against Trump. Every Democrat, they're against Trump. They're the establishment. Media establishment, we just exposed that in the last segment. You've got even the UN. I mean, you have every single major conglomerate power broker at every level now against Donald Trump, just like before the Brexit vote.
That's right.
Do you think there would be a swing in the polls like what we're describing here?
Look, Sean, I think you're right. Be very dubious of any numbers you see now. Between what was released when this well-orchestrated tape drop and the fact that Donald Trump, I think, had a gangbuster debate performance in St. Louis, and now you have all these WikiLeaks, which are just reminding us what Hillary Clinton is all about is a disdain for the average working person in this country. When you put that all together, I don't think you can really trust these numbers for several days to come, maybe a week or so. I think a week or so we're going to know where this race sits.
Do you think in 27 days this level of contempt, the exposure of corruption and collusion between the Clinton campaign and the media, the Clinton campaign and the Department of Justice, the Clinton campaign and the White House, let's take one position privately and another position publicly.
Right.
Do you think people absorb all of this in time?
I worry about that, Sean, but the good news is this, which is the American people are getting the honest truth when the cameras are off and the doors are shut. And
very different
Hillary
people.
Clinton and her senior advisors really talk about the American people. What they've said about Catholics that we learned today is repugnant. It's not consistent with American values. They don't understand what makes this country great. And I think if those are the themes that come out just broadly from these leaks, I think it sets into the voter why they want to make change. And Donald Trump is the candidate of that change.
I got to roll. Thank you. All right, coming up next on this busy news night tonight on Hannity.
The election of Hillary Clinton would lead, in my opinion, to the almost total destruction of our country as we know it.
Donald Trump calling out Hillary Clinton at a massive rally today in Florida. Up next, his son Eric Trump will join us right here in studio. Also later, Sheriff David Clark, Larry Elder, the Reverend Darrell Scott, they're here to weigh in on the mainstream media bias and collusion that's going on and how they're in the tank.
Of Hillary Clinton would lead, in my opinion, to the almost total destruction of our country as we know it. She would be the most dishonest and the most corrupt person ever elected to high office. Americans have had it with the years and decades of Clinton corruption. It's corruption. Crooked Hillary wants to end forever the American independence that our founders gave us. Our great founders are spinning in their graves. Our founders are spinning in their graves.
Donald Trump earlier today back on the campaign trail at a huge, massive rally in Florida. Also tonight, WikiLeaks released an email from Clinton campaign chairman John Podesta. Look at this subject line: needy Latinos and one easy call. Wow. Joining us now with reaction from the Trump Organization, Donald Trump's son, Eric Trump. How are you?
Hey,
good to
Sean.
see you.
How are you?
I saw you had tweeted that out earlier today, so obviously you're paying attention to this. Imagine your father talked about needy Latinos.
When does it end? You know, first it's deplorables, then it's irredeemables. It was super predators
Rednecks.
before then. Today it was rednecks. Now we're talking about Christians, evangelicals were getting killed earlier today by these emails. Now it's needy Latinos. It is, you know, and they talk about us being the party of bigotry and the party of hate. And it's not until Julian Assange comes along and obviously releases these emails via WikiLeaks.
The real Democrat. Remember the original release on the DNC? What did it show? It showed racism, sexism, misogyny, anti-Semitic language in there. And that's the very arguments they make against Republicans every 4 years. That's them.
Look what else it showed. It showed corruption in Haiti. It showed that Donna Brazile was giving Hillary questions, ahead of time for these debates. I mean,
conspiring against Bernie.
It truly shows the true level of corruption in our government. I mean, and in the Democratic Party. I mean, it's actually very, very scary. And this is serious stuff. And it's actually a real shame that most of the mainstream media isn't paying more attention to it. You do. But most of the mainstream media isn't paying attention to this because this undermines democracy. It undermines the way of our life.
Eric, I have been brutalized by the mainstream media.
I know.
I'm a commentator.
I know.
I say I'm a conservative. I'm open. I'm supporting your dad for president. I'll proudly pull the lever for him. But NBC, CNBC, Univision, CNN, MSNBC fed questions to Hillary. The New York Times, Boston Globe, Washington Post. They're colluding with the campaign. And they're going to criticize me, and I'm honest?
Yeah.
I mean, you've got corruption in the Republican establishment, the Democratic establishment, the media establishment. Your dad's up against a lot of establishment.
And by the way, this is corruption of the worst form. And this is corruption that costs this country trillions of dollars. This is corruption that's cost this country lives. This is corruption that compromises national security. I mean, this is real stuff. This is real stuff. This is actions. This isn't words. And people have to be held accountable. This is the commander-in-chief of the free world.
How do you hold them accountable but to elect your dad?
Well, when you look at the interesting little complicated webs, right, where you have, the sons and daughters of major, the CEOs of these major news networks, and they're working at the Clinton Foundation. You have all these little intricate webs. It's difficult, and they sow these ties for this purpose. They do it for their own political gain.
And here's what's happened in the meantime, the stats I give out on the economy.
Sure.
Okay. 13 million more Americans on food stamps, 8 million more in poverty, the lowest labor participation rate since the 70s, 95 million Americans out of the labor force, worst recovery since the 40s, lowest home ownership rate in 51 years, 1 in 5 American families, not one person in that family working, and we've doubled the debt.
Sure. And they don't want to report that. I say
it every night.
How about the scariest thing? The fact that median incomes in this country haven't gone up in 15 years. Median incomes haven't gone up. And actually, Sean, they've gone down because if you think about it, all of our expenses are higher, right? Our taxes are higher. Our utilities are higher. Healthcare, Obamacare is a disaster.
Obamacare is up $4,100 per family since he's been president.
So if you have median incomes, if people haven't gotten a raise in this nation in 15 years, and all of your expenses are higher, it's no wonder why people are working 2 and 3 jobs just to try and get back.
You know that there was a stat that came out the other day, 1 in 7 Americans don't have $1,000 in savings. They're 2 paychecks away from being one of the 13 million Americans on food stamps.
Yeah, and we have $20 trillion worth of national debt, which is going up exponentially. We've got $1.4 trillion in student debt. I mean, it's really incredible.
How does the country absorb all of this in 27 days?
Now, listen, I think we've started an amazing movement. My father started an amazing movement. I mean, I've been in every single state. I just got back from Colorado yesterday. I had an amazing couple of days there. I was in Maine. I was in New Hampshire. I was in everywhere. There's a movement out there, Sean. People get it. People want.
You can see the crowds.
People want this country.
Enthusiasm.
People want this country back. They're sick of corrupt politicians, and that's what we have in Washington, D.C. You see these closed-door deals. Look at this Russian uranium deal, where Hillary approves 20% of the United States uranium going to Russia. I mean, this is the material used to make nuclear weapons. And then the Clinton Foundation gets $145 million for it. I mean, talk about compromising national security. It's scary stuff.
When you think of Hillary saying these 2 things, you need a public and private position, and she doesn't like the everyday Americans.
It's amazing.
That, to me, says everything you would need to never get elected.
Well, then she also says, listen, I'll be the hardest person in the world on Wall Street. But then she goes to Wall Street and says, you'd be the perfect people to solve Wall Street's problems.
But they paid her $225,000 for that speech.
Amazing. And by the way, when you're an employee of the government, when you're Secretary of State, shouldn't you be working on behalf of the people of this country as opposed to giving paid speeches? If you're giving hour-long paid speeches, you need to prepare, you need to travel, you need to do everything else. I mean, don't you think that's a distraction toward your job?
How about 55% of the people that got to see her as Secretary of State were donors to the foundation?
I know.
That's called paid to play.
Yeah.
And then the Haiti Foundation you talked about, they literally separated a list for donors so they could capitalize on the rebuilding of Haiti?
Listen, I ask a question every single day. They came out of the White House and they claimed, Bill and Hillary, they claimed they were quote unquote dead broke. Now they're worth $250 million. And the question I always ask was, what product did they sell? How did they go from zero to $250 million? What product did they sell? And,
Nothing.
And by the way, when you ask that question, I think a lot of people understand what was really happening there. And it's very, very sad.
Eric, good to see you, buddy.
Hey, great
Thank
to see
you.
you, Sean.
27 days. You ready?
We'll get it. We're going to get it. I
Up
promise.
next, tonight on Hannity.
WikiLeaks also shows something I have been warning about for a very, very long time. The media is simply an extension of the Clinton campaign.
Donald Trump blasting the mainstream media for their obvious bias coverage. This after WikiLeaks now exposes just how left-wing and how the press is colluding with the Clinton campaign. Sheriff David Clark.
Clinton documents, have you been seeing this, what's going on? Released by WikiLeaks, make more clear than ever just how much is at stake in November. And by the way, these dishonest people, mainstream media, they don't talk about this. WikiLeaks also shows something I have been warning about for a very, very long time. The media is simply an extension of the Clinton campaign. Reporters who work for these outlets, like the Washington Post or the New York Times, may think of themselves as journalists, but they're actually cogs for a corrupt political machine.
Donald Trump earlier today talking about the WikiLeaks email dump, and it clearly shows, yes, he was right all along, and I've been right all along. Remember I said in 2008, journalism is dead in America. You see it here, the mainstream media in the tank for Hillary Clinton. The depth beyond anyone's imagination. Here with reaction, Milwaukee Sheriff David Clark is with us, radio talk show host Larry Elder, and the CEO for the National Diversity Coalition for Trump, Reverend Darrell Scott. Larry, it's everything you and I have talked about and known for years. NBC, CNBC, CNN, let's see, Univision, MSNBC's fed questions, CNN feeds questions ahead of time. The New York Times, Washington Post, Boston Globe, they are an extension. They are the Clinton campaign. It is so corrupt at a level that nobody really believed, I guess, until now.
And Sean, something else that you and I have been talking about for 30 years, which was revealed in these emails, the one between John Podesta and Hillary. For whatever reason, they're talking about why some groups succeed, like Jews and Hindus and Chinese, and why others don't, like blacks and Muslims. And what they say is blacks and Muslims will not be successful irrespective of circumstances, their expression. And what they're really saying is what you and I have been saying for a long time, and that is to be successful, it's about drive and hard work and self-sacrifice and not blaming other people. That's what they believe, but what they tell you is that you are being oppressed by systemic racism, structural racism, institutional racism. Therefore, we're going to have a program for you, whether it's a set-aside or Head Start or affirmative action. They're laughing at you behind your back, recognizing that these programs are nothing more than instruments designed to get votes for us, but not designed to make you succeed.
And
it's insulting, what they've been saying all along. It's what George Bush called the soft bigotry of low expectations. They are lying to black people, telling them they're victims, while behind your back recognizing that success is about hard work and drive.
You know, and it's more than that, Sheriff. There's a legal aspect to all of this, and that is the collusion that we now know that went on with the Department of Justice giving heads up to the Clinton campaign during an investigation, the White House working together with the Clinton campaign on talking points. The level of collusion, I think, would put all four of us in jail, but there won't be the investigation that we probably need.
Oh, without a doubt. Look, the word ethics and journalists should never be used in the same sentence. The corruption is abound. All of our institutions of government have been infected by this corruption, and to put Mrs. Bill Clinton in office would only continue it, would probably deepen it. The United States Department of Justice is corrupt. When the Attorney General, Loretta Lynch, meets Bill Clinton on a tarmac days before they make the decision not to charge Mrs. Bill Clinton with a mound of evidence of criminal activity, when Eric Holder wouldn't turn over papers to Congress that he was supposed to do by law, and he's been the only Attorney General to be found in contempt of Congress. You look at the IRS with what's going on there with the attacks on conservative 501(c)(3)s. It goes on and on and on. Lois Lerner, the head of the IRS, they just thumb their nose at the rule of law. The law only pertains to, like you, Sean, said, it only pertains to you and I and the little guy, the everyday guy, but it doesn't apply to them. This is very dangerous. This is very disheartening. The courts are corrupt. Aspects of Congress are corrupt. It is all throughout the federal government. Only Donald J. Trump gives us a chance to break up this Washington cartel and return power back to the states, to the people.
As a pastor, Reverend Scott, when we see John Podesta is discussing infiltration of the Catholic Church. Remember, these are people that can't say radical Islam, interestingly, and we can't have any surveillance of controversial mosques, but they want to infiltrate the Catholic Church with their progressive ideology for the purpose of fomenting a revolution. Wow.
I mean, to be honest, Sean, I'm amazed but not surprised. The Bible speaks of deeds being done in darkness being brought to the light, and these are dark deeds that are being, amen, brought to the light. If Donald Trump's campaign hasn't done anything, it has exposed this corruption that exists not only in those upper levels of government, but, you know, filtering down through the media as well. I mean, she wants, like you said, she won't say radical Islamic terrorist. Do you see how she wouldn't say it no matter what Trump said to her during the debate? She would not say those words. But they talked about the bastardization of our faith, and they talked about they downgraded and downrated Catholics and evangelicals. Those are the real bigots. We see who the real bigots are. Right. Hillary Clinton is a bigot, and she's a bigot that tries to play the race card. But she's the one that's guilty of it. She looks down on blacks. She's anti-Christian, anti-evangelical, anti-Catholic. She's all of these things. But if she can somehow infiltrate them or seduce or hoodwink us into using us for her purposes, then so be it.
All right, thank you guys. Coming up next tonight, right here on Hannity.
I would like to apologize to those tramps that have slept with my husband. Maybe she could have said that.
The View's Joy Behar calls Bill Clinton's accusers tramps. She did apologize later for those remarks. Why wasn't she fired? Up next, we'll get reaction from Carrie Prejean and Taya Kyle as we continue. And welcome back to Hannity. So earlier this week, Joy Behar sparked outrage after she made this comment on The View about Bill Clinton's accusers. Listen to this.
I wonder if she missed the opportunity to address it in a way that the public would understand that that's just not how you behave.
The big issue. I would like to apologize to those tramps that have slept with my husband. Maybe she could have said that.
Now, the next day, Joy Behar backed off and apologized for her crude joke. Take a look.
During a political conversation yesterday, I made a joke, and I want to apologize. I never, ever intend to belittle sexual assault or the women who were victims of it, ever. But I made a joke. I'm sorry. Apologize.
Here now, former Miss California USA 2009, Carrie Prejean, as well as Fox News contributor Taya Kyle is with us. Good to see you both. You know, I listened to this and I'm like, seriously? Really? These are women, one that was exposed by Bill Clinton, another groped and grabbed and fondled, and another accusing rape, and you're going to call him a tramp? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I think what's most concerning about that is that there's a knee-jerk reaction, and the knee-jerk reaction is protect your candidate. Instead of just being honest with yourself and honest about the candidate, we're all flawed people, and saying, you know what, I mean, she could have easily just said, you know, he was kind of a scoundrel that way, but I don't care. I still like his politics. You know what I mean? That would be an honest answer. Yeah. But to act like it doesn't matter and make a joke and then try to crucify somebody else for the same thing, that's where it gets tough. I just wish people would be honest about how they feel.
You know, Carrie, one of the things, look, nobody defended Donald Trump's comments on Access Hollywood. He apologized, said, I'm embarrassed, I'm ashamed. He did it the right way, fine. We all, as Taya points out, nobody's perfect. But there's a big difference between saying something, locker room talk, and dropping your pants in front of a woman if you're the attorney general of a state, or having sex in the Oval Office and lying about it, or assaulting women. Those are actions the media, as we now know, in the back pocket of the Clintons, they never wanted to talk about that. Donald Trump had to do the vetting himself.
Right, Sean. And you know, it's good to be with you tonight. And like Donald Trump said today, the media, the mainstream media, is just an extension of Hillary Clinton. And people are waking up, Sean. I mean, I'm a young mom of 2 little kids. I'm a Christian woman. And you want to know what we care about that the left doesn't want to talk about? We care about jobs. We care about a president that is going to put the American people first. We care about securing our border. We care about our education for our children. We care about the Supreme Court justices. I mean, our founding fathers in 1776, Donald Trump is right. They would be rolling over in their graves, Sean, if they knew what was happening right now. And you know what? The most important thing is the Supreme Court justices. As me, as a young mother, that is the most important thing. And everyone needs to wake up and realize that the American dream is over, if that's the case.
I think that's true. And you were a victim, by the way, of this collusion with the media and Hillary. You were a victim of it.
Right, and it's just interesting to see. I knew about this a long time ago, Sean, almost 10 years ago. I knew about the biased media on the left. And you know what? It's a shame that it's happening to Donald Trump, but I am so proud of him. He is stronger and standing taller than ever, and he is not backing down. And I think that the American people, the people who are voting, are going to realize that this is the only person, Donald Trump is the only one that is going to expose the corruption of the left and the media, and the only one that is going to turn this country around.
Taya, do you think most people see the double standard and the difference between words and actions?
No, I don't. In fact, I was talking to some people who are very left-leaning and Hillary supporters last night, and I wanted to just have that kind of brave dialogue with them, and I wanted to understand a little bit more. And they were adamant that that Trump was groping people, that he was, doing actions, and that Bill Clinton's, it was all consensual, and they were adamant about that. Wow. And all I really wanted to do was just talk about, like, are the problems with Hillary, do they concern you? Her ethical stance on things, her ability to be above the law, does that concern you? Leave Trump out of the conversation and just explain to me about that. But it always came back to defending the candidate and attacking another candidate. And I feel like that's going to be a major problem for us. At the same time, character-wise, we're in a place. We almost have to say, forget character, because nobody's got a perfect character. Just go on the policy.
You have flawed candidates, but words and actions are really different.
Right.
They're completely different.
But Hillary
you can't even compare the two.
Well, she was part of the slander and the smears and the besmirching and the cover-up.
Yeah, what about that innocent 12-year-old little girl?
I'm going to have them on the program tomorrow night. She will be here, Kathy Shelton. All right, guys, I got to roll. Thank you. And when we come back, a very important question of the day. It involves you and the media and Hillary Clinton and the incestuous relationship. Hannity, time for our question of the day. Do you think the mainstream media is trying to get Hillary Clinton elected? Well, we actually know the answer to that question because of WikiLeaks. Let's see, the New York Times, the Boston Globe, NBC, Univision, CNN. They're colluding. They're basically all an extension of the Clinton campaign. But if you want to weigh in on the other side, feel free. Go to Facebook.com/Sean Hannity, @Sean Hannity on Twitter. Let us know what you think. Quick programming note, be sure to tune in tomorrow night, 10 Eastern. We will do what the media won't do. I will speak with 3 of Bill Clinton's accusers, Juanita Broderick, Kathleen Willey, Paula Jones, and I'll interview a woman named Kathy Shelton. She was allegedly raped at the age of 12. Hillary Clinton defended the man accused of sexually assaulting Kathy. And when you hear Hillary laughing and bragging about what she did, it will shock your conscience. All 4 women right here in New York tomorrow night. You don't want to miss that show. Nobody else in the media will do that show. We'll do it for you. Thanks for being with us. See you back here tomorrow night. Your Right Fact is on tonight.
Hillary Clinton is going to run as her own.